leaves a trail of sorrow, tears, blood, fear, and deep anguish on the families of those affected and their communities. In response to this, different state governments in the affected region have taken disparate measures, while the federal government has yet to give any concrete direction. We are aware that the closure of schools in these areas is already being implemented by some state governments and is currently being contemplated by the federal government. We warn that this closure, if undertaken, like many of this administration's quick fix approaches to serious governance issues, will amount to a complete surrender to terrorists whose sole aim is to shut down schools and prevent children from obtaining formal education, which they declare as formidable. If the schools are closed, the goal of the terrorists would have inadvertently been achieved. Rather, we urge the federal government to develop a comprehensive plan to combat the issue, instead of resorting to a simplistic approach of closing schools in a bid to prevent further kidnappings and to score cheap political points, quite characteristic of this administration. This alarm is crucial because a closure of schools will exacerbate the already challenging educational situation in northern Nigeria, where, according to UNICEF, majority of the 18.3 million out-of-school children in Nigeria reside there. This data not only paints a grim picture, but also mirrors the exact situation in Nigeria. The series of attacks and kidnappings in different states within a week is indicative of the alarming insecurity that has become the contemporary lived experience and the new reality of Nigerians under the APC-led Tinubu administration. More troubling is the fact that when these unfortunate incidents happen, the administration's response is usually lackluster and unempathetic. For example, instead of the president visiting Kebbi and Niger states to meet with and sympathize with the parents of the children who are in captivity and to address the security personnel there to boost their morale, he merely directed the Minister of State for Defense to relocate to Kebbi. A juxtaposition of the contingent sent by this same president to the US Congress and the G20 meeting with Matawale's lone envoy exposes the levity with which the president treats this matter. This reaction by government is most insensitive, and we must repeat, it is most insensitive and dismissive of the gravity of the problem at hand by the APC-led federal government. We charge the federal government to immediately fund and implement the national policy on safety, security, and violence-free schools, anchored on credible community intelligence and quick security response, capable of anticipating and contending with attack on schools. Insecurity in schools will be a big disincentivization for education in the country, especially in northern Nigeria. We're already not standing very strongly on the education foundation. Insecurity to schools will completely take us out on that framework. We again remind the President, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the entire federal government that the security of lives and property is the primary function of any government. And at any time, such a government, or any government whatsoever, is unwilling, unable, or incapable of executing this primary role of the security of lives and property, such a government must either ask for help locally or internationally, or honorably resign, if that government is sincere and responsible. That's our position on this matter, and we urge that the federal government and indeed state governments should take this very seriously. The closure of schools does not, will not now, not in the future, augur well for the children and the future of this country.
Thank you.
Questions?
Sure. Yes, sir. Good afternoon, MPS, National Vice Chairman, Deputy National Secretary. My name is Publicity. I write for the Sun newspaper. You said that you blame the president or the government for closing schools, saying it's a solution. Would the PDP have preferred that, since it's obvious the government is not able to grapple with this, to contain this issue immediately, would the PDP have preferred that schools are left open, then more children are abducted, Is that what the party is saying? One would have expected that you will be asking the president that having closed school, they should step up security effort, not complaining about the closing school altogether. So I don't know how you would respond to this.
Please, can I ask?
Is it a follow-up to that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so so your government, the PDP was in power for a couple of years, 15 years, or about 16. And it was in the time of your president, Goodluck Jonathan, that we even had the Chibok girls who were abducted. So if you're saying, I'm not supporting that they shut down the schools, but I'm saying that what would your PDP have done differently?
Now, the benefit of hindsight is that it has happened before. What we are facing is not new. And as at the time Chibok girls happened, the current president proffered solution. And as an NBA conference some years ago, the vice president said that they will be fighting from the front. This offers an opportunity. Nigerians bought into that story, and this offers an opportunity for that. Now, going to that, we are not, the academic calendar globally is not going to change because we are having insecurity. And therefore, children who have not been contributors to insecurity cannot be made to suffer for circumstances beyond their control. So if the schools, the closure of schools does not stop insecurity, they can still be kidnapped from their homes. So are you going to close their homes? Until we take a whole of society approach to this insecurity matter, where we analyze it sufficiently, where we are able to use credible intelligence. You have heard a sitting governor ask that security operatives were withdrawn 45 minutes before the attack. Communities have been sacked with people taken from their homes. So the closure of schools does not prevent children being taken. The difference is that when they are taken in school, they are called children. When they are taken at home, they are called Nigerians. So are you trying to minimize the fact that people are being killed and kidnapped? The global academic calendar will not wait for us to finish insecurity. And so exams will come. And so what we are saying is that a whole of society approach must be. So for example, community intelligence must be used. Time was it when we had the civilian JTF and you had them giving credible intelligence. Now we have a trust deficit between even the security circles there. And so we are saying that we must go back to the drawing board and agree that we must not, the security agencies must not suspect themselves. So we must forge ourselves to the point where we look at these issues for what they are and we begin to address these issues comprehensively. Examinations will not wait for security. So these children are either going to lose one term, lose 2 terms, or lose a year. Time lost can never be regained.